Alrighty, so today I'm sharing a bit of a story with you about an incident that happened in my career, and I hope that you're able to learn from it so that you can avoid any situation like this. This is the story of how I ended up in a toxic workplace. Basically, just maybe some background on my career. I've been working since I was, I think, 15, and so I've worked in different industries. I worked in the private sector, I've worked in the public sector, a bit in the nonprofit sector as well. So I've kind of had different experiences across the board. But this incident in particular happened about 10 years ago, and I was being considered for a promotion. It was a significant one based on where I was in my career, and it was a higher pay, significantly higher, and also it was a far better job title. I was being called like a senior analyst compared to being the most junior person for a very long time. And so to me, this was like the step up to no longer be seen as the student or the intern, but now this is my opportunity to get a title at a more senior level. And so I was really excited about the opportunity. It was somewhere where I wanted to work. It was an organization I wanted to work with. But in getting to the interview, there were certain red flags that I simply did not pay attention to. And I want to share them with you so that you can pay attention to those things if ever you are preparing for an interview. The first red flag that I saw in the interview that I didn't pay much attention to at that time is that I was being pressured. Like, the whole process was so quick. Like, interview this afternoon, and then, come and sign the offer letter within a couple of hours. Everything was so stressed and so high pressure. And at the time, obviously, I'm excited. Like, I want the role. I'm happy and excited about it, but it's an unusual situation. And if you're ever finding yourself that you're being pressured into something, take the time that you need to make the right decision for you. It's definitely a huge red flag. The other red flag is that there was no mention or, even any communication regarding how are things going to play out once I start the role. What is the onboarding process? Who am I going to be working with? Who's going to be supporting me throughout the role? None of that was communicated. There was no information that was provided. So I had absolutely no idea what to expect when I started the role. And the biggest lesson I learned from that is I have to ask more questions. I have to ask more questions to be able to know what I'm getting myself into. And if you're preparing for an interview and you're kind of like, okay, what questions should I ask? How will I know more about their environment or how the workplace is? I'm sharing with you here a couple of questions that can help you just to guide you in having that conversation to be able to know, is this really the kind of workplace that I want to be in? The last red flag that I noticed is that the interviewer, who was the hiring manager, was basically telling me that they're leaving the job in 2 weeks. They had already given their notice. They were leaving the job. They were going to pursue something else. So basically, they were telling me I wouldn't have a manager. And also, that was an indication that there probably be no one that would be training me or that I would be reporting to. So that was a huge red flag that I didn't pay attention to. So I ended up taking the role. I did take it. It was an extremely toxic work environment. There was bullying. It was the kind of workplace where a lot of people felt that I shouldn't have been in the position that I was in because it was the same level as them, and they had been there for so much longer and stuff like that. So they caused a lot of trouble and a lot of tension for me. And obviously I had no one who was supporting me along the way. I had to learn everything on my own. Nobody trained me because it was more like us against her because she was this new hire that nobody knew where she came from, and nobody wanted to help me because they resented the fact that I was able to get this opportunity when they didn't. So I stayed there for 9 months, and It was a horrible time there, but I learned a lot of lessons that I teach my clients now in terms of proper preparation when you're getting into an interview. Make sure you're asking the tough questions so that you won't regret it afterwards. Obviously, you may not be able to identify every single aspect of the workplace through the interview process, but ask as many as possible so you know that you're positioning yourself and you're going somewhere where you will be valued, you're going somewhere where your expertise will be recognized, and you're going somewhere that you will just have peace of mind. And really, back in the day, those were the things that mattered the most to me: the pay, the job title, the recognition, being able to go to all these high profile meetings. But over time, my perspective changed. What was more important to me was that career fulfillment, the peace of mind, the lack of stress, knowing that I could log off at 4 or 4:30 or whatever time I was done and not have to think about work again. And so it's really important for you to make your list and know, what are my top priorities in a job? What is the most important to me? And look for those things when you get to the interview stage in the process. So I hope this story helped you. I hope it helped you in your decision making as you're being considered for promotions or you're doing interviews. And know in the comments what you think. If you've ever been in a situation like this, you've ever been in a toxic workplace, or you've ever missed the red flags in an interview, let me know what they were, and let's learn from each other's experiences so we don't repeat them again. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.